And welcome. We're excited that you are here for the Coalition Life webcast here on a Friday afternoon in St. Louis, Missouri. We are so excited. My name is Brian Westbrook, and I am the founder and executive director of Coalition Life, based here in the St. Louis area, serving the pro-life community in 3 states, in Illinois, Missouri, and also in Kansas. And one of our fundamentals here at Coalition Life is to pray daily and to pray at the beginning and end of everything we do. So let's pray. Lord Jesus, we thank you for this day and the gift of our lives and for the opportunity to serve you here through this webcast, here through the information that is shared, and through all of the work that you are doing through the pro-life movement. There are so many people suffering out there, and we know that this is a huge, huge opportunity to serve you through the pro-life movement. We know that there's lots of challenges and problems and things that are in the way, but we know that you have a path to victory where we can see an end to abortion here in our great nation, and a revival of the amazing work that is done to the Christian community, where we can take care of women and ultimately see all human life protected. Amen. Amen. Well, we are so excited you're here on this incredible webcast. We have a lot of people behind the scenes. We have amazing guests lined up. So let's not wait for very long. Let's bring on my co-host for this incredible webcast, the great and amazing David B. Wright, the executive director of Life Leadership Conference, a brand new organization that's doing incredible work to unite pro-life leaders around the country. Welcome, David.
Well, Brian, you're welcome to this webcast. Was so enthusiastic. I felt like I needed to do like 3 shots of espresso before joining, but it is amazing to be with you and everyone else who's joining us in this great work that Coalition Life is engaged in. So it's an honor to co-host this event with you.
Well, David, we've known each other for quite a long time, and it's been quite a journey to get to where we are today. And there is so much happening in the pro-life movement, not just here in the Midwest, but across the entire nation. And one of the things I wanted for you to talk about right as we start this webcast is, what does the national landscape actually look like? I know there are people here in St. Louis and also in Illinois and Kansas. We kind of see what's in front of us and maybe some of the headlines. But one of the things I really love about what you do is that you have a national perspective and understand what's happening locally. So give us a little bit of that perspective as we move forward.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Brian. I'm really blessed in my role to have a vantage point of working with leaders all across the United States of America, national leaders, state leaders, local leaders, and to bring them together cohesively, to strategize, to coordinate their efforts, to collaborate, and to mobilize more effectively so we can achieve greater collective life-saving impact. And I think it's important for us to understand the critical nature of the moment that we're in right now. We're just a few weeks out from the 3rd anniversary of the Dobbs versus Jackson women's health decision. So on June 24th, 2022, we all celebrated when the U.S. Supreme Court finally threw onto the ash heap of history that horrific Roe versus Wade decision that had previously imposed abortion on America and opened this floodgate, this Pandora's box, if you will, of death all across our nation. So that was a huge victory, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your prayers, your faithfulness, your efforts in Missouri, Kansas, Illinois, wherever it is you live, because you were a major contributing factor to getting us to that point. And there has been a good amount of positive pro-life momentum that has continued to happen since that time. So let me just focus on a few different aspects of this. So first, let's focus on just the political front, because a lot of people, that's kind of where their first thought is about, well, isn't abortion a political issue? Well, it has political ramifications. So across the country, we have seen pro-life politicians continue to win elections. You're looking right now at a chart of the various different governors' races, and pro-life politicians are winning. When they run on pro-life platforms, they are winning elections all across the country, including right there in Missouri. So that's a really good, encouraging thing to recognize, is that in this new post-Roe landscape, elections are being won, and that politicians are winning these elections when they are running as pro-life. So whenever you hear a politician who's thinking of waffling or caving on the pro-life issue, just point to this map and say, this is where victory happens, is when you unapologetically say, I am pro-life and I'm going to stand up for that fundamental right, the very first right that was established in our nation, the right to life. Another important, huge victory that happened just days ago. After many, many years, we've all continued to pray and work to defund this abortion chain of Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood's latest annual report just came out, and the abortion chain did 402,000 abortions in the last year, while raking in record taxpayer funding, $799.2 million of federal taxpayer dollars. And our United States House, under the leadership, thanks be to God, of Mike Johnson, Speaker Mike Johnson, successfully just passed their version of the federal budget with a measure to defund Planned Parenthood, not just for 1 year, but for 10 years. So if you think about the hundreds of millions of dollars times 10 years, that's literally saving billions of dollars from an organization that is systematically destroying our nation's future. And just to help you understand the implications of this, just this past week, Planned Parenthood announced on all their social media platforms that if this measure now, which is moved to the U.S. Senate, where it's actively in play at this very moment, if it succeeds in the budget and strips away that money, which is a third of Planned Parenthood's budget, they will close 1/3 of their centers. 200 abortion referring facilities will close. So if you take that 402,000 lives that were lost last year at Planned Parenthood, and you take a third of that would be saved by defunding Planned Parenthood, literally we are on the precipice of saving 134,000 lives a year times 10 years, over 1.3 million lives from an organization that has done so much harm. So in the midst of that, and also the midst of some of the latest data that has just come out recently about the abortion pill, and we'll talk about that here in just a couple of minutes, we are seeing now that there's more pro-life momentum than we've ever seen before. The movement is more unified than ever before, and we need that more than ever before because we're still facing some enormous daunting challenges. And I'm going to speak to one that I know is very personal to you, because you felt this personally with that horrific defeat in the Amendment 3 election. That was a terrible tragedy when just by a tiny majority, that measure was passed to enshrine abortion in the state constitution in Missouri. Now, just keep that in the midst of that fight, Coalition Life was one of the driving leaders of that effort. Brian Westbrook was speaking all over Missouri at events. Ads were being run all across the state, and it was a huge effort to push it close to victory, but it was not quite enough, and hence the reason we still have work to do. But what I want you to know is that fight in Missouri inspired people across the country, because since the Dobbs decision overturned Roe v. Wade nearly 3 years ago, abortion has been on the ballot in 17 states, and regrettably, the pro-life movement has lost in 14 of those states. And the fact that Coalition Life and you got so close to victory, you provided hope to people that maybe the tide can start to turn. And then with states like Florida, Nebraska, South Dakota, we now know that it actually can be turned. So there are losses happening, but we're starting to see the shift. We're starting to see the tide turn. And a lot of that, I want to say thank you for your tenacity, your steadfastness, and also what you're doing right now moving into the new year of 2025 and into 2026. Okay, another important development that has happened that everybody, if you've heard about this, you need to shout this from the rooftops. Just a couple of weeks ago, a group called the Ethics and Public Policy Center, led by my great friend Ryan Anderson, released a groundbreaking bombshell study about the abortion pill. So essentially what happened is they were able to acquire 330 million insurance claims about every aspect of healthcare for a 7-year period from 2016 to 2023. And what they found within there were 865,000 cases of the abortion pill being distributed as tracked by private insurers, Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, that were being distributed. And then they tracked adverse events that were directly attributable to the abortion pill. And what they found was there was a 22 times higher incident of adverse events than what the FDA reported when they did the initial approval of the drug. Tens of thousands of women are being harmed by this dangerous abortion pill. And now we have the data, the true in-use data from the insurance industry documenting this crisis. And when you think about these pills that are being now mailed state to state, being mailed from other countries, and you realize how women are being harmed, how the nearest abortion center is now somebody's mailbox, you realize we have a lot of work left to do. We're going to go deeper into all of this, and we're going to talk specifically about how you can make a life-saving difference in Missouri and where you live to turn the tide. But before we go any deeper, I want to dive into one of our guests and bring out her expertise, and that is Leah Jacobson. Leah is the founder and CEO of the Guiding Star Project, an amazing organization. And as we bring her on the screen here, Leah, I want to first say thank you for joining us. And Leah, you and I have talked about this in the past. You know, abortion seems appealing when the women's healthcare system is broken, and it's broken badly right now. So from your vantage point of trying to solve this problem, what do you see as the current crisis, and how can we fix it right now in 2025?
Well, I love, David, that you started from that perspective, that abortion becomes attractive when the women's health system is so broken. And that's the reality of our women's health system. If we look internationally at our maternal mortality rates, our infant mortality rates, our breastfeeding rates, our postpartum rates that have negative outcomes for women, we're seeing that we're performing at the worst of all of the developed countries in the world. Of countries at the same economic level that we are, our outcomes are the worst. They did improve slightly after COVID, but really we still are lagging very far behind. Nationally, the average is 22 women per 100,000 births are going to die from the childbirth experience. And if you are a Black woman in America, that number goes up to 49 out of 100,000. So birth has become a scary experience for many women here in America. We have what's called birth deserts, maternal health deserts in our country, where women are traveling more than 60 miles, more than an hour from their home in order to deliver their babies. And so women become fearful. And when you're in that sort of situation where you're saying, I don't know if I'm going to survive childbirth, I don't know where I'm going to deliver my baby, abortion becomes, it's much easier to sell women on the idea of abortion being a good solution for her. Yeah.
So Leah, okay, we see this broken system, we see the problems, we see these maternal health deserts. Who stands in the gap, and how do we start to begin to turn the tide and solve this problem?
Well, gosh, I think the pro-life community is so uniquely positioned right now because of our vast infrastructure. We have built brick and mortar centers that care deeply about women's well-being, women's health, their pregnancies. We have the pregnancy center movement. We have medical professionals throughout the country that are, pro-life in their convictions, and they're in hospitals and in offices, kind of hidden throughout the country. And if you're in a community with one, you probably know who they are, and you probably support them, and you probably refer women to them. But we have not leaned heavily enough on this brick and mortar infrastructure of our pregnancy center movement. I really think that if we can get the pregnancy centers to shift a little bit more into this provision of maternal health services, prenatal care, we can start to alleviate that fear and really provide that safety net for women that makes them feel confident, that makes them feel like having a baby is not something that is as scary as it currently seems to be.
Leah, when I look at the work you have championed and started with the Guiding Star Project, and you've got centers all across the country that you work with to help implement a holistic women's healthcare model, and when I see that happening, what would you say would be the instructive lessons that you would apply to, let's say, somebody who's watching us right now in Missouri, and they're saying, what can we do? How can we apply what Leah has learned and what she is doing to make a life-saving difference and to fix this broken women's healthcare system right where we live?
Yeah, I think educating women and young girls is just the key to all of this. When women have information, they have power. And so I think it's so wonderful that you referenced that EPCC study that just came out in the past couple of weeks about the actual dangers of the abortion pill, because so often this information, this research, this actual truth about practices, about procedures is really hidden from women. Women have been considered, maybe not smart enough to understand how to track our fertility, not, brave enough to, work with our body. And so there's been this real downplaying of women's ability to be autonomous in their healthcare decision making. And so the information that has been sort of withheld from us, really, if we focus on educating our young girls very young on how their body works, and they understand that this is a natural, beautiful process of who I am and who God made me to be, there's nothing wrong with me, women become far less susceptible and far better consumers of women's healthcare practices. The questions come up of, is this drug really safe for me? I'm actually going to do a little independent research. Okay, you say that this is safe, but there seems to be a lot of women having a lot of problems with the abortion pill. Women are smart consumers and they talk to one another. And these are incidents of women having adverse effects from everything from contraceptive pills to abortion pills, to different procedures in women's healthcare. Women talk to one another and they know something's not right. We're not being given the full truth here. So just really in every community, every small town, you can start making a really big difference by raising educated women's health consumers who advocate for themselves and for their bodies.
Amen. I love that. And I was so moved to see that when the EPPC study came out and as it started to garner more and more attention, even in a Senate hearing last week, RFK Jr., our head of Health and Human Services, was saying this was alarming data and that he was directing Marty Makary, the head of the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, to investigate the safety of the abortion pill, to definitely change the labeling of the pill, but also to reevaluate it. And so we hope that this elevation of education as people come to find out what the abortion pill is can help to steer them away from this as a bad option. But Leah, let's say somebody just took the abortion pill because they were in that situation where they felt that, oh, this was the option because the system is broken. Is it too late for them, or what can they do? How can they be equipped and empowered with knowledge?
And absolutely not. It's not too late. We can work to reverse the effects of the abortion pill. So please reach out to the abortion pill reversal hotline. Well, I know there's going to be a lot more information about that as this webcast continues. But this is also to your pro-life audience listening. You need to be educated as well on this, that understanding this can be reversed. It has successfully been reversed dozens, if not hundreds of times for women that regret that decision. And this really is where I kind of want to maybe lean a little bit and challenge a little bit into the pregnancy center movement. I mentioned that this brick and mortar network of centers is one of the best things we have going for us in the pro-life movement. A small expansion of services into the abortion pill reversal protocol would really go a long way to overturning and reversing this women's healthcare crisis that we have in our country. This place where abortion is a good solution because birth is scary. If our pregnancy centers can start leaning into that language and build up confidence in women a little bit more and provide things like abortion pill reversal, we start making really big strides in really changing the entire culture of childbirth and maternal mortality and all the things, breastfeeding, motherhood. It becomes something that is now natural and normal for women.
Amen. Leah, thank you so much for taking time to join us today. Thank you for your amazing work at the Guiding Star Project. I hope those who are maybe introduced to your work for the very first time dig in and learn more about it. And also for each of us to understand how important it is for all of us to educate people about the harm of the abortion pill, about real women's health care, about abortion pill reversal, the logical next step to embrace a full medical model. And together doing these things, we can make a life-saving difference in this new climate. Leah, thank you so very much. And next up, we get to hear from Tim Jones. Tim is the former Speaker of the Missouri House. And please watch this discussion with Tim Jones, former Speaker of the Missouri House.
$5+ more or minus $1 million campaign.
Hey, we're really, really glad to have former Speaker Tim Jones with us here. So welcome. We're excited to have you in the office.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks so much for having me. I never knew a former speaker would end up being busier than when I was as a speaker, but there is life after the legislature, and I've really enjoyed it.
Well, you helped start a brand new radio station and everything else, so we're excited you're doing that. But today we're talking about pro-life work and a lot of the things that need to happen. And so here in Missouri, there's yes, Amendment 3 passed, and we're sad about what happened there. And there's a lot happening in the courts. So this week there was a lot of news from the courts, the Missouri Supreme Court. Tell us about what happened there.
Yes. So ever since Amendment 3 passed by barely 1.5%, let's remember, courtesy of a $35 plus or minus $1 million campaign from out of state and out of country anti-life pro-abortion interests. I would call it a deception campaign and not really the will of the people. But ever since then, we predicted there would be a rash of litigation of the anti-life force trying to remove 50 plus years of bipartisan pro-life legislation from our books, and then all of the pro-life forces trying to retain as much sanity as they could. And look, we're not even talking about maintaining a full abortion ban, which many of us would like. We're talking about maintaining safety standards and healthcare standards for women. So the anti-life, the pro-abortion forces have gone after everything, including those healthcare and safety standards. And there was an injunction, I believe, passed handed down by the courts a few months ago. This court case reversed that and said, no, we will maintain some basic standards of health and safety for women in our healthcare system. I think that's pro-woman. And I think it's pro-healthcare too.
Yeah. So, but tell us how important SB 22 was in the court decision that happened this week. Most of the people have no idea what SB 22 was.
So that was a Senate bill that had to go through the entire legislative process, the House and the Senate, during this just concluded legislative session, as we potentially head now into a special session. But during the regular session, this was one of the most important bills that no one was talking about. And in a way, the sponsors kind of kept it that way because this was a huge victory for pro-life forces. Senator Rick Bratton carried Senate Bill 22 in the Senate, and with some very clever wordsmithing and amendment work by Senator Nick Schroer, who is one of the original authors of the Heartbeat Bill, they were able to put a provision into that bill to allow the Attorney General to intervene in these court cases immediately. And so Rick Bratton's bill was an attempt to reform our very broken initiative petition process, ballot summary process, not just for important pro-life propositions, for all propositions, to simply say that the Secretary of State is going to have more of a say in these ballot summaries, and it's not just going to be liberal-leaning courts, right? We're going to have a little bit more of a check and balance in the ballot writing world, right? So that was the main crux of Senate Bill 22. Senator Nick Schroer added that critical amendment to also allow the Attorney General to intervene in these cases. And I'll tell you, the anti-life forces didn't exactly know what Senator Schroer was doing. And he said, don't worry about it. It's no big deal. It became a big deal when the bill got out of the Senate, which is always the hardest hurdle. And then the House folks realized it was a big deal. And it was even a bigger deal when they needed to get 109 votes, a supermajority, to pass that emergency clause to give the Attorney General that power. The board was open. The vote was open for about 20 minutes. And there was one holdout, young man by the name of Bryant Wolfen, and to his credit, he sat down on the side gallery. This is like something out of a movie. The senators came over to the lower chamber. They sat the young legislator down and very calmly explained to him what they were doing. He had some concerns, some constitutional concerns. He's a young legislator, but he's very worried about the constitutional aspects of bills, which everyone should be.
As they should be, right?
And Senators Bratton and Schroer convinced him that this was not only the right thing to do, it was the constitutional thing to do. He marched back across the floor to a lot of hooting and hollering and just outright jeering from a lot of the anti-life forces that were on the House floor. It was like a session out of a parliamentary session, and they were castigating him. And he boldly walked over and pressed the green button. The Speaker closed the board, and the bill was done.
That's awesome.
And now we see the real world effects on life from those legislative rhetorical battles.
Right. I mean, a lot of people I talk to are like, well, what is the General Assembly doing? Are they sitting on their hands? But SB 22 was a huge, huge win for the pro-life movement here in the state of Missouri, and it had immediate impact.
Immediate. We usually don't see that.
Right.
And so it's kind of nice that voters and supporters of pro-life legislators can see they actually are doing work in Jefferson City. It's not all just fun and games, and they actually work very hard to do what is truly the will of the people. And, you know, I always say this, there is no greater interest that the state should have than protecting life. Otherwise, the state itself will cease to exist.
Yeah. Well, so SB 22 made this possible, and then we had a great ruling from the Supreme Court that paused the preliminary injunction. The court case isn't finished. That comes back in January of next year. And potentially there might be other preliminary injunctions and other court dealings, but at least now the Attorney General can get involved and protect life in those cases.
And we now see all of the holes. And as well crafted as the Amendment 3 proposition was, it was written by some extremely brilliant far left-wing lawyers, probably in the coastal cities. They were almost too clever by half, and by purposefully having so much ambiguity, they have allowed lawyers and courts to drive trucks through them. So You're right. As nefarious and bad as Amendment 3 is, it was almost constructed too cute by half, and now you're going to have these ongoing litigation battles until we settle this issue, hopefully once and for all, with I think what you're going to ask me about next.
Exactly. So tell me about HJR 73. What's the path to get that passed at the ballot box? What's the timeline on that?
Well, I think folks who support Coalition Life and all of our other pro-life groups around the state and around the country learned a lot of lessons from the Amendment 3 battle. We learned that, number one, we have to start right away. And so if anyone is waiting until next year to worry about what's going to be on our ballot, HJR 73 is going to be on our ballot either in August, which is going to even make the timeline even more critical, or next November. You need to start working to protect life now.
Right.
And so you need to start working with Coalition Life and all your other partners now. We need to start fundraising now. We need to start, and more importantly, that fundraising is critical. And we're going to be outspent, outgunned, probably 20, 30 to 1 again. But we don't need to match those funds. We just need to raise enough money to get the message out. And the message is critical. We have to raise money. We need money and message. We need money and message. And the message is just as critical to educate voters on what HJR 73 truly does. It doesn't do everything that you and I and everyone who supports Coalition Life wants to be done, but I believe it truly is what most people thought they were voting on Amendment 3 in the first place. But it still will protect life significantly in the state of Missouri, and it will protect women, and it will protect families, and it will protect dads, moms, and kids to be.
So tell us, in kind of the last minute we have here, tell us about a little more details of HJR 73. If someone's going to go and look at it, what's in it, and how can we get access to it so then we can kind of be educated ourselves moving forward.
You hit on a key point there. I would urge everyone to read the ballot question that will be on the ballot, courtesy of HJR 73. Unlike Amendment 3, there is no ambiguity. It is incredibly transparent. It's incredibly direct. It's incredibly straightforward. It has about 4 or 5 separate bullet points. It will generally prohibit abortion in the state of Missouri if it passes after 12 weeks. It does include limited exceptions for rape and incest. It also reinstates into our Constitution parental consent for any type of healthcare procedure, whether it's abortion or anything involving gender ideology. Parents are once again involved. Healthcare standards for women are once again reinstated, and gender ideology is removed from our state constitution. That's it, Brian. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty transparent, and it's pretty honest and sane, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, having parents' involvement, having medical malpractice insurance, or not insurance, but medical malpractice being in place. There's a lot of things that are very, very good. It is not perfect. Yet I think it takes us a long way to where we need to be, far away from Amendment 3, which was very disgusting.
It will protect and promote life. It will protect and promote women's health care, and it will protect children.
Absolutely. So, former Speaker Tim Jones, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me as always, and thank you for all the work you all do.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Tim. There I am. There we go. Technology, we love it, right? So thank you, Tim. Thank you, David. Thank you, Leah, for the amazing presentations. You guys are incredible. Very soon, I have a guest here in just a moment, but I did want to talk about some of the work that we are doing in Illinois and Kansas as well through our sidewalk counseling. There is so much work to be done in these other places as well. You may have seen a map earlier, and on the map earlier, Missouri seems to be in the center of two states, including Kansas and Illinois, and we're in both of those places, and we're excited to do that work. And unfortunately, the laws in those two different states do not, in fact, protect life. And so for those who are listening from other states, we acknowledge you. We understand. We just talked a lot about Missouri, yet there's much to be done in these other states. So I wanted to bring David back on, if we can flip back and forth. Looks like we're doing lots of flipping here.
Do David, I need to do a backflip? Is that what I need to do?
I think we have to do some backflips here. Okay. But David, one of the things that inspired me so early on was your invitation to go to an abortion facility, to go out with your feet, stand in front of an abortion facility, pray, maybe hold a sign, and do this thing called sidewalk counseling. So David, tell me about of course, I know what's important about sidewalk counseling, but tell me about where that began for you and how we can continue to move that forward here in our country.
Yeah, sidewalk counseling is critical. So essentially, my introduction to the pro-life movement, Planned Parenthood opened an abortion center in the town where I used to live, College Station, Texas. Young college student, recent graduate named Lauren Goldie started a group called the Coalition for Life, clever name. And
yeah, clever.
I was recruited to be a volunteer in that initial group. And the first thing that they encouraged us to do was to be a prayer presence outside of an abortion center, talking about how we need to bring God to that place, right? Where two or more gather in the Lord's name, he promises he'll be present in our midst. Where is it more important to be than a place of such hopelessness and despair that is an abortion center? So prayer is important. We know that with God, all things are possible, even when it seems impossible with man. We pray and we bring that prayer to the abortion center. But the next thing that I was introduced to, and I was a little bit freaked out by, to be honest, was this idea of sidewalk counseling. And the way it was explained to me is we have to intercede to reach the mother so that we can hopefully save the child. We have to be able to connect with her and her needs, and we need to be able to talk with her and then provide real resources that address her very real crisis and problems so that she can have her needs met and ultimately we can reach and save the child. And so we were trained initially by some sidewalk counselors in Dallas, Texas, who trained our local team. We built out a sidewalk counseling effort, and it was absolutely the 1-2 punch, right? You have the prayer, which is critical, and that presence, but then you combine it with sidewalk counseling where you're directly intervening and saving lives, frequently redirecting those women who do change their mind to pregnancy centers that can help intervene and help address. Brian, there's an interesting stat. The abortion industry a few years ago ran a big study called the Turnaway Study, and they surveyed thousands of women who'd had abortions, and they found that 6 out of 10 women who had abortions said they didn't want the abortion, and if they had known of any practical help and resources, they would never have had the abortion in the first place. That's what sidewalk counseling solves. So literally 60% of abortions can be immediately eradicated by simply sidewalk counseling. So that's where I saw it. But then I will tell you, as much as what we did, as much as what we learned, what I didn't expect is that when others would take sidewalk counseling, they would elevate it to a whole new level of professionalism, excellence, and impact. And that's where Coalition Life and the St. Louis method came in. What I saw you, your team, and so many of the people, some of them who are watching us on the webcast right now, do was take sidewalk counseling, which conceptually is very strong and very powerful and can be impactful, and say, how do we strategically improve this so that we're saving the maximum number of lives and directing women to places that will help them, not harm them, like a Planned Parenthood or independent abortion center. It's critically important, and Coalition Life is the masters at perfecting and delivering this message at facilities that deliver surgical and chemical abortions.
And I didn't pay him to say that.
No,
either.
you did not.
Well, thank you very much, David. If it's okay, I'd like to bring you back a little bit later.
Sure.
But thank you for this discussion about sidewalk constantly. I appreciate it. Well, I did want to talk about kind of those locations and give you a little bit of an idea of where we're at and some of the statistics of what we've done with sidewalk counseling. So let's see if we can bring that. Yeah. So we've had more than 4,536 turnarounds in front of these abortion facilities in the last 13 years. And that's thanks to many of the people who are watching the webcast, many people who will listen on the webcast recording later on, and of course, our team on the ground. And then just in the last 12 months, we've had 399, almost 400 turnarounds at many of these locations. And, we're here in St. Louis, Missouri. We have our incredible team over across the river in Fairview Heights, Illinois as well. We have our team down up in Flossmoor, up in the Chicago area, where there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the Chicago region, and know that we are taking a very, very hard look at the 20 abortion facilities in Chicago and making lots of plans up there. Hopefully we'll have some Carbondale. There are 3 abortion facilities in that town. And as you guys may have known, as you're following us, we sued the city of Carbondale, went all the way to Supreme Court for their so-called bubble zone. And that, unfortunately, the Supreme Court did not take that case, but we're glad that the city of Carbondale reversed that ordinance, and we're now able to successfully sidewalk counsel in Carbondale. And then, of course, our newest location, Overland Park, Kansas, on the Kansas side. So we're excited to have this incredible team, and we are going to bring one of my favorite people in the entire world. We're going to bring her on, and we'll see if we can. There she is. There she is. So Rachel Mays, welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
This is our incredible new studio. We're very excited about it.
Beautiful.
So David was referencing the heroes on the sidewalk, and Rachel, you are one of my heroes on the sidewalk outside those abortion facilities. So welcome. So my big question for you is, you could work anywhere, like you could do anything. Standing out in the snow and the rain and the heat and just going out there and getting yelled at most of the time, that doesn't seem like a place I would want to work. But of course, we started all this. Right? But a lot of people wouldn't want to work there, right?
Sure.
So why? Why Coalition Life?
I love Coalition. I love Coalition so much. Simply because you get to give back to your community and you give women life-giving resources. You let them know that there's another way they can support their children that they feel like they can't take care of in the moment. They try and make concrete decisions in that moment, and it really isn't as bad as they think it is. We can help them, and we just want to love them through whatever they're facing. So I really just love Coalition. I love everybody that works here. So.
Well, Rachel, there's so much work to be done, and I know you've been with us for a while now,
Yes.
Since 2020 now.
Yes.
And you left for a little while. I cried just a little bit when I'm not sure that they're wet tears, but I've cried about a lot of things. But you came back, and we were so glad that you did come back. And it's apparently almost got your fingers cut off. So I'm glad that you didn't. We won't talk about that story.
That's a totally different story.
That's a different story. But what I'm so amazed by and I think our audience wants to hear is, what happens out on the sidewalk? What are those stories? What's happening out there? And after being rejected 99% of the time, there is hope, isn't there?
There is. And I would like to say, I have pre-decided to go out on the sidewalk knowing that I would be rejected. And it does hurt, but that doesn't mean I have to stop trying. Women really need to hear that they're loved, and they need to be united with the fact that they are mothers, that they can do what it is that is in front of them and that we want to help them. One of the stories that stand out the most to me is a couple came into the Fairview Heights sidewalk, came into the driveway at our Fairview Heights location, and we were standing outside. It was a November afternoon, and they came in, blue car, young couple. I intercepted them. I started talking to them, asked them if they were there for pregnancy-related services. They answered yes. They told me it was abortion. And so after digging for a while, trying to figure out like why they're there, what is going on with them, how we can assist them, how we can help them, they just kept turning me down. And I was like, okay, look, the gloves are off. I have to paint a picture for you. What about the music they'll listen to? What about their eye color? What about what they're going to be into? Just overall, what their child will be like once they start to get older. It's very precious to envision these things, but in the moment, parents and women just can't see that because they're so focused on the turmoil that they're facing. I mean, I counseled them for several minutes, and it seemed like nothing was working. So the couple said that, no, we're just going to go in. We're going to go in for our appointment. And I'm just like, please, let us help you. Let us help you. And they wouldn't. So they went in, and I was like, okay, let's say a prayer. So we said a prayer. 2 hours go by. The end of the shift is almost, it's closing. Okay. Our shift is coming to a close, and the same car comes back out. They're leaving, and I am discouraged. I'm not in a hurry, but I know that I need to approach them. I approach them, and they let me know. I was like, how did everything go? And they were like, we chose life for our child. We decided to not go through with it.
Praise be to God.
I know. I know. I was really dramatic about it. I was like, oh, that's great. And they were really excited, and we got them hooked up with local resources, and it's a victory story. And so, yes, glory be to God, because we are the instruments on the sidewalk, and he uses us every day. And I'm excited to be that instrument.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Rachel, you were sharing with me earlier, that we're able to then send them, for that story, we weren't able to send them to a pregnancy center. I'm sure we followed up with them, but many times we'll send them next door across the street, or also to our own pregnancy center for an ultrasound. And so sometimes they come back and tell you about the ultrasound, don't they?
They do. That was another story. One left. She came in and she told me that she was having trouble with her significant other, that she didn't have the support that she needed, that she was there for abortion. And I was like, oh no, you don't need to do that. And I just kind of really appealed to the motherly side, because she already had a child in the car with her. I let her know that she wasn't alone, and I was like, just give me a couple minutes of your time. And she left. She went to our unit next door. She was in there for a little time, and she came back out. And when she was leaving, she was like waving out the window. She had her ultrasound in her hand, and it was great. I was like, wait a minute, I need to talk to you. I ran across the street and I talked to her, and somebody else stepped in, and it was beautiful. And she just was so happy and relieved that we were there to provide that relief for her. So.
Well, thank you, Rachel.
Yeah.
We have a limited time here. We could talk for hours, and at times we have.
Yes.
But Rachel, you do incredible work out there, and I want to thank you, and also pass on to all of the team out there as well, the staff, the volunteers as well, how grateful we are for all of the work that's done there on the sidewalk.
Thank you, Brian.
So thank you, Rachel. So thank you, everybody else, for holding on for us. Again, thank you, Rachel. And we are so excited about, we're always excited, but let's go ahead and bring David back, my incredible, amazing co-host here.
What are we always excited about, Brian? I'm excited to find out.
Well, see, here's the thing: people don't always know. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink coffee. So if I have any energy, it is natural energy, and the people who know how to take it away very quick.
Holy Spirit and adrenaline, mix it together, and it's a powerful concoction.
That's true. And so when you have 7 going on 8 kids at home, you got to pull the energy somewhere, can't you?
Amen. Amen.
So what'd you think of Rachel?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, Rachel, thank you. You are one of the many heroes I have encountered that is willing to put yourself on the line, even knowing you're going to face ridicule, rejection, setbacks, challenges, but yet you do it anyway because you care about that mother and you care about the baby within her. And that compassion, that empathy, that love is profound. It's life-saving. Not everyone is called to be on the sidewalk, although many are, including some people probably listening to the sound of our voices right now. But for those who do it, know that even when you don't see it, your presence is making a profound life-saving difference. And for those who say, I'm not sure if I'm meant to be, well, look at what Coalition Life offers in terms of training and maybe try it out. Or maybe say, you know what, maybe my role is to be a sender. Somebody else is a goer, I'm going to be a sender. And I'm going to empower those like Rachel to continue doing what they do and continue to expand that. Brian, the one thing that really struck me as she was talking, and it brought me back to something I mentioned shortly before when you were asking about sidewalk counseling, and I referenced that Turnaway study, is that it's crucial to be there on that front line, right? It's crucial to be there offering that alternate voice. But if all we do is say no to abortion, but don't have a place for them to say yes to life, we're not meeting that full need that was expressed by women saying, I wouldn't have had an abortion if I'd known there was real and practical help. And that's, yes, initially instigated through that conversation at the fence, at the sidewalk, but then it's important to do even more than sidewalk counseling. And I think that would be a really good point. Could we possibly talk about the work of Women's Care Connect and how it really complements and maximizes the impact of what Rachel does?
You know, I think we might be able to talk about that subject, David. We have incredible people in our pregnancy center as well. Rachel mentioned that we sent them next door. Well, that was one of our partners, their Mosaic here in Fairview Heights. But we also run our own pregnancy center in the St. Louis area called Women's Care Connect. And there's so much work that they are doing behind the scenes. Women's Care Connect has served over 1,000 clients last year, and there's been so much work that's been done through that. So Women's Care Connect is providing pregnancy testing, options coaching, ultrasound, and STD testing. Many of the people on the call today have made that possible. And we've served over 5,900 clients since we started the program through the work that's happening here in the St. Louis region. That also is something that we're doing around the country. The guys might put up a map here of what it looks like before Dobbs. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit bigger so we can see it. So before Dobbs, we are serving mostly the clients here in the St. Louis region, and we loved that, and we worked hard to make that happen. But beyond that, we have seen after the Dobbs decision that the work has dramatically expanded throughout the Midwest. And so throughout Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, many of our clients are coming from Texas, Tennessee, Arkansas, and they are coming from all different places into these abortion facilities, both in Illinois and Kansas, and we meet them there. We meet them outside of these abortion facilities, and our Women's Care Connect team, along with our sidewalk counselors, then can serve them as they head home, many times paying for their return flights back to their homes. So I actually have an incredible guest with me here in studio. Her name is Rena. Gosh, I've even forgot your name, Rena. No I got so many things going on here. So Rena is incredible. And so Rena, you are now our newest Director of Client Services. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So Rena, tell us about the work of Women's Care Connect and what the people listening to the call make possible every single day.
Sure. So the work we do in Women's Care Connect, as Brian mentioned, we reach women through the sidewalk, through phone, through text, through submitting on our web. We get them whatever services they're looking for, kind of like sidewalk. We get them in, we bring them to us first, provide them with the services they're looking for. Once they're there, we give them that safe space where they can discuss why they really want to keep their baby most of the time. A lot of people that they are in their lives are either forcing them to have an abortion, pressuring them to have an abortion, telling them that because of X, Y, Z, they should get an abortion. They struggle with the idea that they're doing something wrong by having a baby. And no one wants to talk about those things. It's okay for them to talk about aborting their baby, but it's not okay for them talking about keeping their baby if they don't fit in a very small box. So giving them that space to say why they want to be a mom, why they want to keep their baby, what makes them a good mom, what would make them a good mom is enough to support them and allow them to do that and make that decision along with resources and the services we provide them.
Well, Rena, I know there's a lot that happens behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see. And there's a lot of stories that happen behind the scenes as well. And we've been talking a lot about the abortion pill and the impact of the abortion pill. A lot of women that we meet both on the sidewalk and also in our pregnancy center have already had abortions and they've been impacted by the abortion pill. Yet sometimes we have an opportunity to meet them right as they've taken that pill. And so tell me, I know you had a story that you were telling me earlier about a client that you had met prior. So tell me about that.
So Bretta is her name. What happened with her is she had a long-term relationship with a man. They lived together. She had had a miscarriage soon before that. Her boyfriend cheated on her, kicked her out. He owned the home, so she wasn't allowed to stay there anymore. This client also has some pretty bad medical issues. Once she had moved out, she realized she was pregnant. In that vulnerable state, she went straight to Planned Parenthood and took the pill. Once she came to realize that that's not what she wanted to do, she reached out. Once she reached out, we were able to help her get services, and the baby ultimately was saved. During that time frame, we counseled her, we coached with her, we discussed resources, got her connected, got her housing, got her help, continued to see her and help her through that traumatic experience that she had at the abortion facility and prior. At that point, she continued to do well. She was supported. She came in. It was a wonderful story.
So I see this as being a great story that's between our sidewalk counselors and the work of Women's Care Connect, right? We look at pregnancy centers around the country and they're looking to see how can I not just maybe advertise on their cell phone or the internet, but also be able to meet them exactly where they're at. And so that partnership is really, really vital. And so I love how this works perfectly together. Mm-hmm. So she had it reversed, yet that wasn't something we did.
No.
So tell me about that.
So when someone calls us, previously, what would happen is, we would have to reach out to the hotline or have her reach out to the hotline or get connected with an OBGYN through that hotline. That obviously delays the process, which can be very serious in if the baby lives or not.
Yeah. So one of the things we're excited, we told you on the big emails that we have announcements. And so with Rena here, Rena and her team at Women's Care Connect have been working very diligently. It is not some simple process to do. It sounds like it's simple. You take a pill to help with the reversal. Yet there's a lot that goes into it. And so we want to thank Rena and all of the Women's Care Connect team and our administrative team in the background here as well. For working the details. And so we are excited that Women's Care Connect will now be an abortion pill reversal provider. Yeah. And so we're excited about announcing that. And so, but what does that mean? I think there's a lot more than just, getting a prescription over to the pharmacy. What goes into that?
So as for Women's Care Connect, what goes into that is, a lot of coaching sessions, a lot of meeting with the client, talking through where they were, where they are now, how they got there, helping them through that trauma, asking the hard questions around awareness and getting them firm in that parenting to really propel them forward, because children motivate you. They do. We get them in solid ground. It is part of the process to do an ultrasound 1 to 2 times a week. So we'll be meeting with these clients frequently for ultrasounds. We will also be meeting with them to give them resources and anything that has to do with, what is the reason they were considering it in the first place? How do we make sure that they don't hit that wall again? How can we show them they are capable of making sure they don't hit that wall again? Right. So resources and lots of time and lots of ultrasounds and lots of money.
Absolutely. Well, of course. And so what we're doing as well is we're looking to hire another ultrasound tech. We're looking to build the team up, bring volunteers in, but also more staff members, more supplies, and it requires a certain level of additional resources to make that happen. We heard from Leah earlier that if you're going to continue to grow and expand to provide even more resources, abortion pill reversal is the next best step. And so we're glad that we're able to do that. And so, Rena, thank you for all the hard work that you did to make that possible. And we're excited to share that. But thank you, and also send to our incredible team at Women's Care Connect our gratitude for all the work that you do. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
And so I think our next guest was Dr. Monique, and I had a chance to meet with her just briefly earlier today. So let's hear from Dr. Monique. Well, now I get to hang out with one of my heroes, Rue, and she's way out in Philadelphia, but we got to chat during the pro-life tour last year, and is really one of my heroes about just the work that she's doing, both on the sidewalk, but also through her work as an OBGYN. And so welcome. We're excited you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always such a pleasure to hang with you guys. It's so wonderful to do God's work with all of y'all.
Well, I know you are squeezing us in the incredibly busy schedule that you have. So thank you for the time that you have here. So we just talked about the abortion pill reversal, how important that is. But one of the questions I always get is, what is this thing? Why are we doing this? How is this successful? It seems kind of new. So tell me, what is abortion pill reversal?
So I think before you get to what is abortion pill reversal, you have to really understand what exactly is the abortion pill doing. So when women take the abortion pill, this abortion pill is basically completely blocking the ability of a really important hormone. That hormone is called progesterone, and it's something that every woman makes after ovulation. And during pregnancy, that progesterone level should be rising and rising and rising in order to support that baby that is growing inside of the mom's uterus. And so when the woman takes the RU486, the abortion pill, this prevents the progesterone from getting to the baby. And when you cut off that progesterone supply to the baby, that basically kills the baby. And we're so blessed that with the abortion pill, we have a window where we can actually work, because that abortion pill typically takes about 72 hours before it actually ends the life of that child. So if we can get to that mother very quickly, so that's the importance of people being present outside of the abortion center, so that they can allow these women to understand, hey, you have another chance. You don't, just because you took the pill doesn't mean that this baby has to die. You can always change your mind. And if within 72 hours you change your mind, we can help you by giving you a whole bunch of progesterone. And the progesterone is a very safe medication. This is something that I use in my office all the time. I use progesterone for women who have PMS symptoms. I use progesterone for women who have ovarian cysts. I use progesterone in women who have recurrent miscarriages and women who have PCOS, in women who have naturally low progesterone. I give them progesterone throughout the pregnancy and monitor it week by week in order to make sure that they're at normal levels. And that helps to sustain the life of this child. So in the same way, we are giving this mom progesterone in high doses for a few days, and then we lower the dose a little bit and we continue on with the progesterone, and we check an early ultrasound to make sure that baby's heart is still beating, and then we continue to check those progesterone levels throughout the pregnancy like I would with any mom who has an at-risk pregnancy who has a history of low progesterone. And if the progesterone levels kick in on their own and the mom is doing great and the baby's doing great, then she doesn't need to continue the progesterone during the pregnancy. But if she has low progesterone, then we can continue to support during the pregnancy as well to ensure that the mom's doing well and the baby's doing well. So it's a really beautiful treatment.
Well, I know there's been a lot of impact. This is a huge thing, especially with the huge abortion pill fight that we're having right now, because, I mean, abortion pills are being shipped all around the country. So what have you seen through your work with abortion pill reversal? What kind of stories do you have?
Oh my gosh, the abortion pill issue is such a crazy, horrible one. And I think the worst part about it is that the media is trying to twist this to make it seem like it is some inconsequential, really as simple as taking a Tylenol, and it's not a big deal, and it's so safe for everyone and everybody can have it. But there are so many issues with this medication. This is a medication that women are being given without even being seen. So many of these women have no clue how far along they are into their pregnancy. They have no clue whether their baby is even inside of their uterus. So they could have an ectopic pregnancy and be attempting an abortion for a baby that is in their tubes. And then when they start having pain and bleeding, they think it's completely normal. However, it's actually a sign that their tube is rupturing and they could be in grave danger of death. And there are women who are completely unprepared. They have no idea, exactly how much bleeding this is going to be, exactly how much pain this is going to be. There are women who are trying to abort their babies in college stalls in the bathroom. And they're doing this all by themselves with no support. Nobody knows they're doing this. And so can you imagine somebody hemorrhaging in a college stall bathroom with nobody to help them in severe pain, not knowing what to do? There are so many reports of women who just hemorrhage right through their clothes. There are so many reports of women who are delivering babies and they're told by these abortion practitioners, deliver into the toilet, don't look, and flush. So they're basically being told to flush their children down the toilet. And every woman looks and they see their child, and then they're fishing their child out and they're sitting there sobbing and crying, not knowing what to do with this child now. There are women who deliver children that are still having a heartbeat. And it's just extremely traumatic. We have women calling friends of mine, Serena Dykeson, who does healing after abortions. She has had multiple calls of women who are putting their babies in their freezer, who are burying their babies in potted plants because they don't know what to do. And they're just completely scarred, and there's no aftercare for these women. They're told even to lie if they go to the emergency room. So the physicians in the emergency room don't even have the proper health history in order to treat them appropriately. So it's such a tangled web, and these women are all suffering. So education is so important for them to understand exactly what's going on, and for people to be educated themselves so that they can show up lovingly for these women and to be able to provide them with the correct resources so they know that they have another option.
Wow. Well, I know that your time is incredibly limited, so I thank you for these few moments and this information you're able to share with us. Thank you for being on the webcast.
Thank you so much for having me. God bless all of you guys. And thank you guys for listening.
Well, that was such a fun time I had with Dr. Monique. She's one of my heroes, and I think you understand why she's so incredibly busy is because she has such a knowledge about how abortion pill reversal works, but more importantly, how well to take care of women and make sure that they are incredibly well taken care of. Well, my last guest for this incredible webcast is a very dear friend of mine, Mr. Mark Cavalier. Mark, welcome to the webcast.
I'm really glad to be here. I was getting excited. The last couple of guests you introduced is like my favorite person. I'm so excited, and I was getting all ready, and then it was Reno or Rachel. So, but I'm finally here. Best for last.
Well, one of my favorite people. My kids were asking me, we were, rolling down the highway, and they're like, "Dad, who's your best friend?" And without me missing a beat, I said, "My wife." So my wife is my best friend, and you guys are, second, I suppose. But Mark, thank you for being my guest here at the end of the webcast, and you're going to help me with our next big announcement. And so we're really excited about you helping us with this. I know you know Leah and David and others. And so tell me about Sidewalk Counseling. You're from the Southwest Coalition for Life out there in the El Paso and Las Cruces area. And so tell us about Sidewalk Counseling. And one of the things you did was you came here to St. Louis. And so what's the impact of that? And then we'll talk about the big announcement right after that.
Yeah, I was about to mention that, coming there and spending a few days with you and having heard about the St. Louis method and, seeing the numbers that were coming from the work you were doing. And so we knew we needed to go and figure this out and learn how to apply it and adapt it for our outreach. And this has been really important because right now, especially in the post-Dobbs era, we've seen a huge shift. I mean, prior to the Dobbs decision, we were seeing at least 2 turnaways a day, sometimes up to 5 a day. But what's happened is in the 3 years since the overturn of Roe versus Wade, it's a different dynamic. And so we're right on the state line between 2 extreme states of Texas and New Mexico. Texas, where abortion is restricted; New Mexico, where it's still allowed up to the day of birth, up to the moment of delivery for any reason, funded by tax dollars. So we've had a huge flood of abortion businesses coming in, and when the women that we're seeing, and this is a similar dynamic, I know in some of the state lines where you all are at too. But they've already invested so much in their travel, in the time and costs into getting to this abortion center. Oftentimes they've already had an ultrasound before they left their hometown. So these are the most determined women, and so our abortion numbers for our turnaway numbers for a while had plummeted, and we were really struggling. So, but what you're sharing right now, I want people to really appreciate that seeing 399 turnaways last year at Coalition for Life is unprecedented. Like nobody else is pulling numbers like that. And so, it's probably a good time for us to come back out again and learn a little, even more from you guys now. It's been
You're always welcome, Mark. You're always welcome to come.
We'll be there.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So I think here in the communities we're in Kansas City, St. Louis, and of course our communities in Illinois, when we look at these numbers and we're comparing them to other years and other things, we kind of compare them to ourselves.
Sure.
But when we get outside of the Midwest here, we realize that there just isn't something like or quite like Coalition Life. The only one I can think who can come close is your group, Mark, and the work you're doing there in New Mexico and Texas. And so one thing, we got to chat in the last couple of months here about something you are doing, and we've been spending a lot of time about the abortion pill and, of course, the abortion pill reversal. And so one of your team members came up with this incredible concept. And if my tech support will allow Mark to have the full screen, I think he wants to show us some things as well and tell us about something that he did.
Sure. So like you just referenced, Brian, the reality is that, the chemical abortion pill now accounts for 63%. The last numbers I've seen, the majority of abortions happening are done through the chemical abortion pill. This is a crisis. And so, how can we respond to that? And as I mentioned, reaching out to the women. So oftentimes, even here, what they're doing is, they're sending pictures to anyone who has an abortion appointment of our sidewalk, our mobile ultrasound bus, of our sidewalk interns, saying, don't talk to these people when you're coming in. And so it's been very difficult because the impact that we used to have following the St. Louis method and everything we learned from you. But what's happening is the only opportunity we've been having to talk to them is after they have already taken the first abortion pill. And so one thing that we have done is, we just heard from Leah Jacobson, and Leah Jacobson is amazing, the founder of the Guiding Star Project. We actually have a division here as part of our Southwest Coalition, which is Guiding Star Southwest, as an affiliate of the Guiding Star Project. And one thing that we have done is we have something that we do is a miscarriage kit. And this is an example of a kit that we provide to moms who are experiencing a natural miscarriage. And having gone through this twice with my wife, this is something we wish we had to really educate you about the process, what's about to happen, and prepare you and say, this is what to expect, this is what's normal, and this, to help you collect the child, to give dignity to the child, know that these are the things that are going to be okay. And that's really important for women's healthcare. So this is something that we have been doing in our women's healthcare clinic. And the team member that we have, Jessica Cifuentes, she was really inspired that in a moment of prayer that, these women have already taken the abortion pill. The abortion facility is not preparing them for what's about to happen. So, at least meeting her where she's at, let's see what can happen, what doors may open. So she basically came up with a similar kit. And in this case, we call it a care kit. And this is one example. We're working on getting some custom made boxes, but right now we get boxes like this that we're working with. And the word care we've come up with stands for a chemical abortion recovery and evaluation kit. These are the supplies to recover the child, first and foremost, recover the baby, because again, she's already began this process, and this is the time where we're meeting her. So if we meet women prior to taking the abortion pill, of course, we're doing options counseling. We're making sure that she knows the resources that are available. But if she's taking the pill, then we want to say, okay, in this case, at the very least, like Dr. Monique Ribeiro just said, the abortion industry is telling her, just sit on the toilet, don't look, and flush. Thousands of these children are getting flushed down the toilet and ending up in sewers and septic systems. And we know that it's a corporal work of mercy to bury the dead. So at the very least, can we help to dignify these children? But what other doors may this open in the process? And so what we do is we say, we understand that you've already taken the abortion pill. They probably haven't really prepared you for what's going to happen. And so we want to give you this kit, and you open this up, and there's in a moment, I'll have them pull up the instruction booklet that's included. But we walk through and say, okay, they're not giving you anything. They're just telling you to go home and go through really what's a labor and delivery alone in your bathroom. So at the very least, take this so that you can take care of yourself and that you can recover the child and the baby. So we have chuck pads, and we help them understand, there's going to be significant bleeding involved. So not only that, but there's a pull-up and letting them know, this is going to be essential. We give them a couple of pads, and there's also then a collection pan. And you take this and you insert this, and we let them know, insert this in the toilet, and you're going to be collecting the blood and the tissue and the child in this pan. Okay, now here's what starts happening. When you start walking through this process, because the abortion facility does not educate her this way about the process that they are initiating, when you start to put this in her hands, suddenly this idea of just taking a pill and I become unpregnant suddenly becomes real. And so we say, this is what's entailed, right? So be ready for it. You're going to collect this. Then you're going to track. You can measure the blood loss, because we want to make sure you're okay. Too much blood loss can be a medical emergency. They're not telling you how much, to measure your blood loss, at what point you may need to go to the hospital. So measure your blood loss, and we have a blood loss measurement chart that you can keep track of that. And then there's a filter and a strainer. So at this point, you're able to strain to collect the child and the tissue. Depending on the gestational age, the child may be very small. So this will help her to identify and collect the tissue. There's then a jar of saline solution to put the child in for preservation, so that now you can come back to us. And we're working with our local diocese to have memorial services and funerals for these children. And this is important because if she doesn't change her mind and this process does complete, at the very least, not only is the child dignified, but if she humanizes her child by collecting her child and having a memorial for her child, she's probably not going to make this mistake a second time. And that's critical because we know a majority of abortions are repeat abortions. And so she's humanizing her child. We're helping her to dignify and honor that, but then also getting her in touch with, through the post-abortion healing and services like Rachel's Vineyard, so that she finds forgiveness and finds healing and isn't going to do this a second time. We give her a bag to put that jar in so that she can refrigerate it in a way that's dignified. And then, of course, we have gloves and even a squirt bottle with, so that she can rinse the remains of the child prior to putting that in the saline solution. And if you do, we still have a couple minutes to look at that instructional booklet?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely, we do.
Okay.
Let's see if we can bring it up here.
You can stay on the screen probably, and we'll pull it up with the two of us looking at it. So, and then this is a little instructional booklet. Now, hopefully we're able to actually have the verbal conversation with her and walk through this. But in the instance that we can't, then this booklet is prepared to go through the conversation with her. So guess what? We actually have a message from Dr. Monique Ribeiro, who you just heard from, reaching out to these women saying, hey, I know, we know where you're at. You just took the pill, and this is the type of healthcare that you deserve, is actually being educated and empowered and informed consent. And this is what's been happening though, is as soon as we start having this conversation and giving them these supplies, then we say, but guess what? It's not too late. There's something called abortion pill reversal that Dr. Monique just talked about. In the last month, we've had more abortion pill reversals than all of last year combined. Okay. So many women are going through there and they're saying, we didn't really know. We were not prepared for this. We did not have fully informed consent. So we're saying, make sure that you understand that this can be reversed before you take these pills, before you take the second pills. Make sure that you understand that, if you've had an ultrasound, a lot of abortion facilities are not doing the scans to confirm if this is an ectopic pregnancy or not, which could be fatal for a woman. Make sure you've had that ultrasound. Make sure that that if this is a medical emergency and you have to go to the hospital, to tell them that this is the abortionists are telling women lie, and don't tell them that this is a chemical abortion. Just say it's a medical, a natural miscarriage, and they're getting improper care, and it's also skewing the data. So this walks them through the process of the abortion pill, the instructions on how to use it, and then how to take care of their body. But then it tells them how to identify the tissue, and this is what it's going to look like to identify the children at different ages and the placenta, preserving the baby's remains, honoring your baby at this point, the emotional healing, everything about abortion pill reversal. And then if they've experienced any kind of malpractice, then it's going to make sure that they know that they can reach out for legal support as well, and monitoring their health. So this is something that's been really critical. But all of this is the reason this works is because we're able to offer abortion pill reversal, and it gets more women to seek that treatment.
Absolutely. Well, Mark, when I heard about what you were doing with this, I said, well, we have to do this right away. So we're excited to be able to do these care kits here in St. Louis. We're going to be getting on phone calls very quickly here about bringing this incredible thing to St. Louis, Flossmoor, Carbondale, also Overland Park, all of our locations as we continue to grow and expand. And hopefully we'll see them across the entire nation. But it's a really, really important thing that we're doing.
And just briefly, for anyone concerned, in the short amount of time that we have talked to the National Catholic Bioethics Boards and many spiritual directors to make sure that we're doing this in a right way that's really helping her and not inadvertently assisting her or encouraging her.
Very good. Well, thank you, Mark. I'm going to turn this right back to David. David has one last big announcement for us as we wrap up the evening or the afternoon.
What is a webcast without big announcement after big announcement after big announcement? So, hey, I just want to say, first of all, how impressed I am by all of the work that Coalition Life is doing. Mark Cavalier, thank you. As you know, I think your work is groundbreaking and innovative with those care kits. And thanks to your team for developing that and for making that available to other places. And I think all of this now comes back down to each and every one of us to say, okay, so we've got the opportunity to make a difference on the sidewalk. We know the landscape in the midst of the Amendment 3 loss and how we have to rebound from that. We know the importance of providing pregnancy assistance through pregnancy care. We also know the importance of abortion pill reversal in these care kits. Now it all boils down to, what can I do? Each and every one of us. What can I do to be a voice for the voiceless, to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves? And that's what this whole webcast is really bringing us to, that point of saying each and every one of us can make a difference if we are willing to invest our dollars. Yes, our prayers, yes, our time, yes, our talents, and our treasure into this work. And the big announcement to help us with this is that already a group of anonymous donors have collectively pulled together a matching challenge in the amount of $263,000. That's 263,000 that has been put together as a matching challenge, meaning that every gift you give right now, as you're watching this webcast, whether you're live with us or whether you're watching the replay afterwards, will be doubled dollar for dollar up to $263,000. That's for your one-time gifts. And also, if you make a monthly pledge, you pledge, let's say $1,000 a month, that will be multiplied by 12. That number will be doubled. So 1,000 becomes 12,000. That's doubled to $24,000. Every one-time gift, every monthly pledge, doubled dollar for dollar up to $263,000. Thank you to those who put forward the match, and thanks to you for your willingness to respond to this opportunity for such a time as this. One thing I know about Brian Westbrook and the team at Coalition Life is they don't ask if there's not a legitimate need. If they don't have an opportunity to save more lives than ever before, they're not going to ask you, and they're not going to have one of these all or nothing matching challenges. And we have from today, as we're doing this webcast right now, it's Friday the 30th of May I'm on Eastern time, so it's about 6:20 my time, 5:20 your time in the Central Time Zone, until June the 6th, till the end of June the 6th, this matching challenge, all or nothing. If collectively we can raise $263,000, it will be doubled to whatever that number is, doubled. Monthly gifts, 12, double that. One-time gifts, that'll be instantly doubled. There's a huge need for abortion pill reversal, for the sidewalks to be staffed, for Women's Care Connect to save more than everybody ever before. Look at the national situation. Recognize that local is where we can solve this problem. Regionally is where we can make the greatest impact, and Coalition Life is on the forefront of making a life-saving difference. So, Brian, it is my honor to be able to stand with you in this critical time. I'm excited about the $263,000 match till June the 6th, and I can't wait to see how the amazing people who make up this organization respond at this critical time.
Well, thank you, David. Thank you to everyone who was on the webcast with us, everyone who is listening to us live, but also who is watching this behind the scenes or during the recording. And of course, all of our tech and all of our administrative staff, and of course, those people who tolerate us while we're on camera and these kind of things. So, and of course, give my best to Margaret and the amazing people you have around you there on the Eastern Seaboard as well. So, great big thank you to David for helping co-host this. And we are so blessed and honored to have every single one of you with us here today. Again, that's a $263,000 matching challenge between now and next Friday. And so make sure to make that donation either through the QR code you see above my head or through coalitionlife.com/donate. You can do it right there. Or if you're watching, there are links directly below this video, or they are also on the website as well that you were able to see this as well. So amazing things that are happening here at Coalition Life. Again, thank you to all of our guests. Thank you for those who are watching and listening. And of course, thank you to those who are donating and are giving their single gifts or their ongoing monthly gifts. And as David said, those monthly gifts continue to sustain our work every single day. And so just kind of the wrap up here, we heard about the incredible things happening around the country, but we also heard about the terrible, horrible things through the abortion pill. And so we are able to now do abortion pill reversal through our work here at the Pregnancy Center. We are now able to, here in the next couple of weeks, get care kits out to the sidewalk so that we can be talking about abortion pill reversal directly in front of these abortion facilities every single day, so that we can give dignity to those children who might be lost through abortion pill. And so we're doing these things. And of course, finally, our big, huge announcement, our $263,000 matching challenge between now and next Friday. And so that's 7.5 days between now and next Friday at midnight. Again, it's an all or nothing matching challenge. And so we encourage you that now's the time to donate. Now's the time to give that gift for the year. And of course, those monthly gifts count times 12. So please consider a single gift and also a monthly gift as we continue to grow and expand our ministry here at Coalition Life. So as we do everything, we begin and end in prayer. So please pray with me. Lord Jesus, we thank you for the gift of our lives, for the amazing work that you are doing through Coalition Life. And we ask you to give us the resources, send us the resources, whether it's volunteer time, whether it's staffing, whether it's recruitment. And in this webcast, in this time, we ask you to send those financial resources to ultimately see us grow and expand, but more importantly, to do your will here in the Midwest. And as we continue to grow and expand, to serve even more communities that need the help that we offer and the help that you make happen through our ministry. So we thank you for that. We thank you for everyone who is watching and listening. And we thank you for the work of Coalition Life. Amen. Amen. Well, thank you again. And we will see you next time here at Coalition Life. Thanks for hanging out with us, and God bless.